Hi, I'm Konstantin Baum, Master of Wine, and to celebrate 30,000 subscribers, I'm doing a special tasting of 3 different champagnes, but not just any champagne. Instead, I'm doing a deep dive tasting into the wines of one of the best producers of sparkling wine in the world, Krug. So let's roll. First of all, thank you to all of my subscribers. We should really be drinking these wines together, and maybe one day we will. If you haven't subscribed yet, then please do. It really helps out the channel. For me personally, Krug has always been one of the most desirable champagnes in the world, but the wines are difficult to get as they are not cheap. These 3 wines combined cost a whopping $1,400, but many wine lovers all around the world are prepared to pay that price. So what is behind the House of Krug, and why are people all around the world in love with those wines? Krug was established in 1843 in Reims, the capital of Champagne, and it wasn't one of the first champagne houses by any stretch. It was founded by Johann-Joseph Krug, a German immigrant who left Germany in 1824 and learned the trade at Jacquesson. He called himself Jean-Joseph after moving to France, and he and his family propelled the house to the top in the region. By the way, Krug is a very German name, and it directly translates to jug or jar, as in I will have myself a Krug of Krug. Krug, like many other champagne houses, was bought by Moet Hennessy in 1999, but Olivier Krug is still the director of the house. It's still a bit of an exception in Champagne that the cellar master at Krug is a woman, Julie Caville. She worked at Krug for 14 years before taking over from long-term cellar master Eric Lebel in 2020. She clearly knows Krug very well, and that is important because Krug is very different. They only have prestige cuvées and don't have any entry-level champagnes, and all of the wine, all of the base wine is fermented in 205-liter oak barrels. This changes the flavor and the texture of the wines by quite a lot, and using those small vessels also allows them to do a really thorough selection of different parcels. They produce 5 different wines: the Grand Cuvée, the Rosé and the Vintage, the Clos de Mesnil and the Clos d'Ambonnet, but the last 2 wines are single vineyard champagnes that were only added in the 1970s and 1990s, and Krug has really built their reputation on high quality blends, so we will focus on these 3 blends today. I'm going to taste these wines from my RIEDEL Veritas Champagne glass. By the way, I always mention the glass and the wines that I'm tasting below the video in the description, because I often get that question. If you taste great champagne, you should use a bigger glass. You don't have to use this one, but you should use one with a bigger bowl. Maggie Enriquez, the CEO of Krug, once said that drinking Krug from a flute is like going to a concert with earplugs in your ears, and I think that's a great comparison. But now let's pop some corks. Krug follows a different approach to many other champagne houses. They don't produce a non-vintage brut that tastes the same every year. Instead, they produce a different edition every year that represents the qualities of the base wines. So this is the Krug Grand Cuvée 169th edition that retails for roughly $250. Introducing the labeling by edition was a really smart move by Krug, because it really highlights the fact that each year the wine represents a slightly different stylistic expression, plus it makes the wine so much more collectible. This 169th edition is a blend of 146 different wines from 11 vintages. It's mainly built around the 2013 vintage, but the wines go back to the 2000 vintage. This is a cuvée of 43% Pinot Noir, 35% Chardonnay and 22% Pinot Meunier. But it's really time to taste now. This is a really good start to my day. The wine smells of lemon zest, orange zest, but there's also macadamia nut coming through, brioche, baked goods. So it's quite complex, but also really inviting. It's really intense, aromatic, beautiful. On the palate, it has this beautiful balance between richness and concentration, and a very fresh, very vibrant laser beam of acidity that really cuts through all of the body and the concentration. By the way, Krug really focuses on traceability. They introduced this Krug ID number on the back of the label of the bottle that you can enter into a website or even into an application, and that will then tell you everything you need to know about that wine, maybe even about that bottle. I haven't even tried it, so I'll have a look now. Okay, yeah, this is kind of nice, but I don't really see what other information I get from this as opposed to when I just search for the Grand Cuvée on the website. But I guess this ID will also allow Krug to have a little bit more traceability on where their wines end up, and it also will combat fraud. So That's a good thing. RobertParker.com gave this wine 96 plus points and Vinnes gave it 94. I would rate this 96 points. I'm not a big fan of the plus or minus thing. And I think this is outstanding. This is really high quality and I do like this a lot. Kind of hard to spit this. The next bottle I'm going to open is the 2008 vintage from Krug. It retails for $800 and it's the expression of 1 year. 2008 was a very highly rated vintage, even though it was the coldest year in 14 years in Champagne and the vines received very little sunlight. This is actually beneficial for the production of Champagne. For Champagne, you need cool temperatures in order to get the freshness, the vibrancy into the bottle. The wine is a cuvée of 53% Pinot Noir, 25% Pinot Meunier and 22% Chardonnay. The vintage was described by Krug as the classic beauty, but what isn't classic is that Pinot Meunier for the first time made up a larger share of the blend than Chardonnay. Normally Pinot Meunier is not used in prestige cuvées to a large extent because it doesn't have the reputation of being very age-worthy, but in this case Krug really liked the Pinot Meunier and had to include it. The wine aged for 12 years in the cellars of Krug to give it more richness and complexity, so let's see whether that has paid off. I received some hate in the comments because I swirl my champagne glass. I do like to swirl my champagne glass because I want the champagne to open up and show me everything it has. If you don't like that, that's fine. You don't have to swirl it. I do. Stylistically, this is a very different wine compared to the Grand Cuvée. This is much more linear and not as opulent and concentrated. There's far less nuttiness here. For me, this smells very much of lemon tart. On the palate, there's lots of freshness, lots of length, but it's very, very linear. So it doesn't cover all of your mouth. It's more like a very fresh, vibrant, clean cut on your tongue. And it's beautiful, but it's very different. So this makes it difficult to rate it because it's not opulent, not in your face, but it's full of finesse. RobertParker.com gave it 94 plus points. Vinnes gave it 97 points, which is very high in my opinion. I think this is a beautiful wine. It's a very clean, delicate, fresh and vibrant wine, but I would actually rate this 95 points. Beautiful, outstanding wine, but it lacks maybe a little bit of expression, in my opinion. If you're wondering which song goes with this champagne, then Krug has you covered. They've actually partnered up with different musicians who compose songs for each wine that they produce. And you can then go and listen to the music on Krug's website and decide whether you like that music with that champagne or not. I think this is still too young. You should age this for a few more years. Give it a bit more texture, a bit more roundness for everything to really come together. Great champagne can age a long, long time, and this one will definitely go a long way. The last wine of the lineup is the Krug Rosé 25th edition that retails for $350. It's a cuvée of 28 different wines from 5 different vintages, ranging from the 2013 vintage to the 2008 vintage. It's a cuvée of 45% Pinot Noir, 30% Chardonnay and 25% Pinot Meunier, and it was aged for 7 years in the cellars of Krug. First and foremost, the wine has a very intense color. It's almost a little bit red, and this is due to the fact that they use 11% of Pinot Noir made like a red wine to give it this color and also a little bit more texture, a little bit different flavors. So yeah, this is the style of the house. On the nose, it's beautiful. There's lots of strawberry, raspberry character coming through. There's also a little bit of chocolate, a little bit of croissant flavor in the glass, so I really like that. On the palate, it's juicy, forward. It's a little bit grippy. There's a little bit of tannic grip there. Lots of freshness in the finish, but this is not a light and delicate wine. It's more of a full-bodied rosé. This is an excellent wine and I'm going to rate it 96 points. This is also why Krug is saying that you should drink this wine with really savory dishes, and I'm getting hungry here, so let's get something to eat. All right, I have some sushi here, and freshly made sushi and champagne, that should work, right? But you never know until you try. You could obviously just drink the champagne on its own, but pairing it with food is also a very good idea, and sushi is a pretty safe bet, I would say. So I'm going to pick one sashimi per champagne and let's taste. I'm going to pair the Grand Cuvée with this sushi roll because the Grand Cuvée is a little bit more intense and aromatic, and this is crab meat and avocado, so it has a little bit more flavor, and I think this will go really well. Very nice. Yeah, it does really well. The sushi roll has a little bit more concentration, a little bit more power. The fat, the creamy stuff around the crab meat gets cut away by the sharp acidity of this wine. Flavor-wise, this can really deal really well with the sushi. The next one is the 2008 Vintage, and here I'm actually going for something delicate and fine. I got scallops on rice, and I think this will be a perfect match. Delicious. This is a really good match. The fine scallop flavor and the delicate champagne go really well together. The freshness of the wine really wipes away all of the texture from the palate. It serves almost like the squeeze of lemon onto your scallops. So, molto bene, très bien, sehr gut. With the Rosé champagne, we need something more flavorful and intense. Salmon and Pinot Noir go really well together. So I'm going to try salmon sashimi and Rosé champagne. So let's dig in. I love my job. I do. Well, this is almost too powerful for the salmon, but luckily I prepared something else. This is smoked eel, and maybe, just maybe, this is going to work. I don't know. Let's see. Oh, wow. That's magic. So the smoky flavor of the eel plus the slightly sweet sauce goes super well with the champagne. It doesn't get overpowered at all. Both stand there in their own right, but they also kind of make love to each other. It's really good. Great match. Glad that I tried that. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I most certainly did enjoy myself. Thanks to everyone out there who's been subscribed, who's liking my videos, who's commenting. You guys are great. Most definitely I'm going to drink a lot of Krug today, so I'm staying thirsty. Whatever you guys do, stay thirsty too.